Memes, gifs, and emojis. And in this part, we're going to be talking about increasing student engagement. I think one of the interesting things that you can do is you can really explore the cultural and social significance of memes at the middle level and high school level as you're able to incorporate them into classes. I think sometimes you might be able to tie them in really neatly with content. Other times, I think you can pull in some interesting pieces of pop culture, and it can make for some very interesting discussion. I found that it's a great way to hook students, and it can be a matter of illuminating an issue by sharing a meme and getting them kind of thinking about it in a different way. Sometimes it can be maybe the meme is not the most current of memes, but sometimes it can be still illuminating to a topic as well. I think creating memes and GIFs, as you can see, I have an example here, is a nice way that sometimes you can represent different concepts and ideas. I really like this as a way, the example that I have here, as a way of, showing off a particular vocabulary word. So this can be a great way to have students dig into vocabulary words, whether it's in English or in a foreign language that they're learning, or vocabulary words for any sort of technical words they might have for other topic areas. So if they're able to record themselves kind of demonstrating that, as we have in this video, or GIF I should say, or if it's something that they maybe capture a GIF that demonstrates this can be a nice way to kind of engage, so students are thinking maybe in a different lens of when they're trying to come up with a way to define a vocabulary word or to demonstrate it, and hopefully that will help with that word sticking a little bit better in their memories. Emoji story retells. This has been a kind of part of emoji culture, I guess I should say, on the internet for a while, where taking a story or a song or something, some kind of narrative, and retelling it through a series of emojis. And I particularly like this example that I shared of Les Miserables, both a famous book and a famous musical, and how I would say this one probably is a retelling of the musical. But just that way that students really need to think very carefully about the sequence of the story, sequence of events within the story, the different parts, what really getting at the essence of the story and the different parts and pieces. So it is kind of a silly activity, and I've seen some examples that can be clear. Sometimes knowing that this is Les Miserables, I can kind of look through and kind of know the different parts of the story. If I was just looking at the emojis, I'm not sure if I'd be able to interpret, well, maybe the French flags throughout might be a tip-off. But I think that's kind of one of the pieces as well, is that it might be a fun activity for students to create these and other students to try to guess them. But I think there's nice potential here for doing something that's fun and creative and engaging way to think about stories. And along a similar vein, EmojiArt History, hashtag EmojiArt History, enjoyed a little moment of fame on mostly Tumblr, but also Twitter to some extent, where the idea, and I have some notable examples here where you can really see the idea was to take emojis and to kind of summarize a famous painting or kind of hint at a famous artist, like maybe their style, like you can see Picasso there, what's Picasso's famous style. I think that, again, can be kind of a fun thing where students could do this and kind of make it a guessing game. If they, I think, for this particular one, they'd have to have a pretty pretty good grasp of the visual or performing art medium that they're talking about. But I think this is, again, a fun way to get at boiling some sort of content down to its, bare essentials. The Emoji Rebus, I think Rebuses have been around for a very long time, and emojis are a great way to incorporate pieces of a story. As traditionally Rebus is having those little images as you go through, so it makes sense to be able to tie emojis in there. And I think this can be kind of like with the emoji story retelling, this can be a nice way to really think critically about a story, about its different pieces and components, and how you want to bring those in. And obviously with emojis, you have a lot of things to choose from, but you don't have like the perfect choices. So you can't draw exactly what you want. So you've got to be, thoughtful and careful about the whole process. So again, I think it's going to be a fun thing either for a teacher to do and share with students, or for students to do themselves and share with each other. Along a similar vein are using emojis for word puzzles. This particular one that I snagged from the internet is guessing the different country names. So some of them, it's, a little bit trickier than others, but I think it can be a fun, whether you're pulling these from the internet and giving them out to students to do, or having students create their own. I personally would prefer students to kind of make their own and like share them with each other and try to find, kind of what are the best ones, or the most clever that you have in the bunch. This really is something that gets at a unique, dimension of student creativity that I really like. And I think for a lot of students, a lot of engagement if they're doing this sort of thing.